The man at Shibuya Station. You no Yona not, the man of the rainy night. Some say that rain in Japan carries things with it. Not just water, not just cold. Something older. Something that has been waiting in the clouds for the right night, the right street, the right person walking alone. This is the true story of Haruto, 34 years old, salaryman, and the night the rain brought him something he could never fully explain and could never fully escape. It was the evening of his wedding anniversary. Haruto had been stuck at his office in Shinjuku until well past 9, a deadline that couldn't move, a manager who wouldn't hear excuses, a stack of reports that had swallowed his entire day. His wife Yuki was waiting at home in their apartment in Nakameguro, dinner already made, candles already lit, the specific patient silence of someone who had learned not to say what they were feeling. His company scooter had a flat tire. He decided to take the train. By the time he reached Shibuya Station, the sky had made its decision. Rain came down not in drops but in sheets, the kind of October rain that arrives without warning and commits completely, the kind that soaks through a suit jacket in 30 seconds and turns the streets into shallow rivers. Haruto stood under the station's outer awning watching the rain bounce off the famous crossing, usually one of the most crowded intersections in the world, now navigated by hunched figures under black umbrellas moving in the rapid, purposeful way of people who need to be somewhere that isn't here. He had no umbrella. He checked the train app. Delays on every line, weather-related signal issues, the usual cascade of problems that a single heavy rainstorm produced across the entire network. He messaged Yuki, "Running late. Rain. I'm sorry. Happy anniversary." She replied with a single heart, which somehow made it worse. He settled in to wait. 3 minutes later, the rain stopped falling on him. He looked left. A man was standing beside him, closer than strangers normally stand in Japan, which is a country with well-understood rules about personal space. He was holding a large black umbrella angled to cover both of them, which was why the rain had stopped hitting Haruto. The man was dressed strangely. Not poorly, the clothing was clearly expensive. A long dark coat with a high collar, white gloves, a wide-brimmed black hat pulled low. Dark glasses despite the fact that it was past 9 at night and raining heavily. The overall impression was of someone who had dressed for a specific occasion that nobody else had been informed about. "Thank you," Haruto said, because that was the appropriate thing to say, and because Japanese politeness is a reflex that functions even when something feels off. The man nodded once, then said without preamble, without looking at Haruto directly, "Do you know what Shibuya Crossing looks like from underground?" Haruto blinked. "Sorry?" "All those feet," the man said. "All those people crossing. From below, it must look like the ceiling of the world moving." Haruto had no response to this. He smiled politely and looked at his phone. "Your wife," the man said, "should not come here tonight." Haruto looked up sharply. He had not mentioned his wife to this man. He had not mentioned anything to this man beyond a single word of thanks. "Excuse me?" The man said nothing further, just held the umbrella, just stood. Haruto's phone slipped from his fingers. He crouched to pick it up and froze. The man's shoes were expensive, polished, clearly well made, but below the hem of his coat, where his legs should have been continuing down into his shoes, there was nothing. The shoes rested on the pavement. The coat hung above them. Between the bottom of the coat and the tops of the shoes was a gap, 2 or 3 inches of space where a human ankle should have been. The shoes were not attached to anything. Haruto stayed crouched for a moment that lasted much longer than a moment. He picked up his phone very slowly. He straightened up very slowly. He did not look at the man's feet again. He looked at his phone screen. He looked at the rain on the crossing. He thought about what he should do and arrived at the answer immediately. Leave. Leave right now. Leave in any direction. He took 1 step away from the umbrella and back into the rain. The man said quietly behind him, "Running won't change the direction of water." Haruto ran anyway. He made it to the far side of the crossing before his legs gave out from something that wasn't physical exhaustion. He leaned against the wall of a convenience store and breathed. The rain hit him again. He didn't care. He looked back across the crossing. The awning where he'd been standing was visible from here, 100 meters away, bright with station lighting. He could see the spot where he'd been standing. The man was gone. The entire area under the awning was empty, which was strange by itself. Dozens of people had been sheltering there moments ago, all of them gone. Just Haruto, across a rain-soaked crossing, breathing too fast against a convenience store wall. He typed a message to Yuki. "Please don't come to Shibuya. I'll take a taxi. Stay home." He was halfway through sending it when the rain stopped falling on him again. He looked up. The man was sitting on the bench directly beside him. Same coat, same hat, same dark glasses. The umbrella held at exactly the same angle. He had not been there a second ago. There was no physical way he had crossed the road and arrived at this bench in the time between Haruto looking down at his phone and looking up again. Haruto made a sound he would later describe as embarrassing. He launched himself off the wall and into the road. The rain was genuinely heavy now, visibility down to 20 or 30 meters, the gutters overflowing, the air itself thick with water. Haruto ran without direction, turning corners randomly, putting distance between himself and the bench as the primary objective. He stopped at an intersection when his lungs made him stop. He turned around to check. Nothing behind him but rain and headlights and the occasional figure under a dark umbrella. He turned back around. Lightning. In the instant of its light, the entire street was visible. White and clear, every surface illuminated simultaneously. The man was standing in the middle of the road, 20 meters ahead, in the center of the lane. Cars going around him on both sides as if they didn't see him, or as if there were something about his position that made avoidance instinctive. His hat was off. His glasses were off. His face in the lightning's light was wrong in the way that things in peripheral vision are wrong, the wrongness that disappears when you look directly, except this wrongness remained when Haruto looked directly. His eyes were completely black, not dark irises, black, full, absolute, like the light had been removed from them specifically and replaced with something that had nothing to do with light. They were bleeding, not dramatically, just steadily, two thin lines of black that might have been blood, running from the corners of both eyes down his face, diluted by the rain but unmistakably there. He smiled at Haruto and raised one white-gloved hand. Not a wave, not a threat. Something between them, a gesture that Haruto's brain couldn't categorize and spent a long time afterward trying to. Behind Haruto, a bus horn. He spun around. A city bus, headlights full, slowing but not stopped. The driver's face visible in the windshield with the specific expression of someone who has found a person standing in the road and is not entirely sure what to do about it. Around the bus, suddenly a crowd. People who had been waiting at a nearby stop surging forward as they recognized the bus number, the collective movement of 20 people all trying to reach the same door simultaneously. The crowd hit Haruto from behind, not maliciously, just the physics of 20 people moving in the same direction and one person standing in the way of that direction. He went down sideways and the pavement came up and the crowd, still moving, still focused on the bus door, passed over him. Someone's heel, someone's knee, the edge of a rolling suitcase. He was aware of each impact precisely and then wasn't aware of anything. He woke up to Yuki's face. She had ignored his message. She had taken a taxi to his last known location, the message he'd sent from outside the station, and had found him on the road with 3 cracked ribs, a dislocated shoulder, and both legs broken in the specific way that happens when a crowd moves over a person and the person cannot move with it. He was in hospital for 6 weeks. He never walked without a cane again. Nobody believed the full account of what he described. The attending doctors noted possible concussion-related confusion. His colleagues were sympathetic in the careful way of people who don't know what to say. The police report recorded a crowd incident at a bus stop during heavy rain and listed Haruto's injuries as consistent with accidental trampling. Nobody mentioned a man with black eyes. Nobody mentioned a man with no legs visible below his coat. Yuki believed him. That mattered. She looked up the bus stop online and found something she didn't tell Haruto about for 3 months, and then told him quietly one evening when she thought he was strong enough. In the local records, a newspaper archive, 2011, an incident at the same bus stop. A man in his 40s, killed in a crowd accident during a typhoon, trampled when a bus arrived and the crowd surged. The description of the accident was almost identical. In the years after that incident, the report noted there had been several complaints to local police about a strange man at bus stops in the Shibuya area during heavy rain. The descriptions were consistent: long coat, dark glasses, wide hat. And in every account, the person making the complaint reported the same detail. They said he had no feet. Yuki still avoids Shibuya on rainy nights, not because she is superstitious, because she has read enough accounts now to understand that whatever the man is, ghost, warning, something with no available category, he returns every monsoon season, and he returns to the same places, and the people he finds there almost never walk away from the encounter the same way they walked into it. She thinks sometimes about what he said to Haruto at the beginning. Your wife should not come here tonight. She does not know if it was a warning or a threat or simply a statement of something he already knew was going to happen. She has never found a way to ask him, and she has never stopped wondering if she should.